the video I'm describing, and that's to talk about Armageddon. Jehovah's Witness beliefs regarding Armageddon. Now, one objection I had to the video I'm describing is I had Jehovah's Witnesses say, oh, well, that's not what we believe. We don't believe that Jehovah is going to slaughter everyone who's not a Jehovah's Witness when Armageddon comes. That's just not what we believe. And it's charming that, you know, so many Jehovah's Witnesses don't know what their own religion teaches. But just in case you are one of those people, I'm going to read to you a couple of paragraphs from this 1992 Watchtower article titled, Who Will Escape the Time of Distress? And it makes it very clear, in my view, who will survive Armageddon and who won't. Paragraph 6 on page 15, this is the May 1st, 1992 Watchtower. It says, Joel 2:32 says that everyone who calls on the name of Jehovah will get away safe. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there will prove to be the escaped ones, just as Jehovah has said, and in among the survivors whom Jehovah is calling. Jehovah draws them out, and they call on his name with faith in Jesus' sacrifice before the climactic shaking of the Great Tribulation. So they've got to call, these survivors of Armageddon have got to call on Jehovah before the Great Tribulation. It says, happily, the precious great crowd, now numbering more than 4 million, this was 1992, it's now 8 million, comes into Jehovah's house of worship in anticipation of his rocking all the nations at Armageddon. So the great crowd has to come into Jehovah's house of worship. And then paragraph 7, how do these survivors call on the name of Jehovah? Remembering what it said in Joel 2:32, everyone who calls on the name of Jehovah will get away safe. So how do these survivors call on the name of Jehovah? James 4 verse 8 gives us an indication stating, draw close to God and he will draw close to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you indecisive ones. As with the anointed remnant who led the way, those who hope to be of the great crowd of Armageddon survivors must act decisively. If you hope to survive, you must drink deeply from Jehovah's purifying word and apply his righteous standards in your life. You must be decisive in dedicating your life to Jehovah, symbolizing this by water baptism. It couldn't possibly be any clearer in this Watchtower that if you want to survive Armageddon, you've got to get baptized as a Jehovah's Witness and live your life in obedience to what the governing body tells you to do. So there's the basis for what I said in my previous video that people were questioning. Let's take that teaching and apply it the way I did in the video I'm describing. So as of now, Earth's population is 7.3, I've just checked, 7.3 billion. It could be a lot more than that. It could be maybe a billion more. But the estimates at the moment are 7.3 billion people on the planet. Okay, how many Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, as I said before, there are 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, the annual memorial attendance is roughly 20 million. So let's be very generous, bearing in mind that when you're a Jehovah's Witness, you're told that just because you are a Jehovah's Witness, that doesn't mean you're going to survive. There could be Jehovah's Witnesses who die in Armageddon, is what you're taught when you're a witness. But let's be generous and say that not just every Jehovah's Witness, but everyone who attends the memorial, so families of Jehovah's Witnesses, people who are interested, they get to survive Armageddon too, which isn't what it says in the Watchtower article I've just read. But let's be generous. Let's say 20 million survive Armageddon. And let's be even more generous and multiply that figure by 5. So that, let's say that for every person who attends the memorial, Jehovah's going to save 4 extra people at Armageddon. So, 5 times the number of memorial partakers. 100 million people are going to survive Armageddon. Let's be really generous, and I can't be more generous than that. Okay, so still 7.2 billion people will die at Armageddon, even after we've been so generous. More generous than the organisation is, far more generous than the organisation is in its literature. Jehovah, the all-wise, the all-loving, the all-merciful, is going to massacre 7.2 billion people. Now, if you like, you can admire and respect and love a deity who would kill people based on their religion in this way. Or, like me, you can say, that's not on. I object. That is immoral. It is immoral to slaughter somebody just because they don't have the religion that you would like them to have. Now, the minute I make that call, the minute I give my opinion in that way, I become an anti-theist. So I'm saying, I don't care that this is something that is important to Jehovah's Witnesses, something that they're indoctrinated to think is a good idea. I think it's a bad idea, and I think a God who does this is obscenely immoral and a sadist and a psychopath. And I would do my utmost to stop this from happening if it was in my power to stop it from happening. And if I survived Armageddon by some miracle, I would not participate in the global burying of 7.2 billion victims of a sadist massacre and act of genocide. I wouldn't make myself an accessory to that global crime, the biggest crime that the universe would ever have seen. I wouldn't support it in any way. I would be condemning it as the act of gruesome horror that it really is.